Head over to miniaturemarket.com. They have thousands of board games at discounted prices like Scotland Yard Sherlock Holmes Edition. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to London, where one of us is going to be Moriarty, running around and hiding and possibly trying to commit crimes, and everyone else is going to be part of the Sherlock Holmes team trying to corner him and find him and arrest him. Today we're taking a look at a classic game of Scotland Yard that originally came out in '83, but this is the new Sherlock Holmes edition, which isn't just a reskin. There is a whole new game here, as well as the classic game. So let me show you how you play original Scotland Yard with this, but also the new version. So here we go. In Scotland Yard, Sherlock Holmes Edition, one player is going to be Moriarty, and they're going to be moving in a hidden fashion, trying to hide and trying to sort of get different goals done, where all the other players are going to be investigators like Sherlock Holmes or Dr. Watson. Now it plays up to 6 players, so there could be up to 5 investigators: Adler, Mycroft, and Lestrade. Now here's the map of London, and out on the board is a starting spot for the different investigators. Even if you're playing with less than 4 players, there'll still be at least 4 tokens out there. I'll show you how this works in just a moment, but I'm going to show you the basic game, the standard rules, and I'm going to show you what's different with this version. So the starting investigators, in this case this is a 2-player game, so one player is going to be running all 4 of these investigators. Now the investigators are always on the map, and they're going to be moving on these different lines. Now Moriarty is going to start, this is randomly given to him. In the basic game he has to start on the left one here, 71. So he'll write 71 there, and then he'll sort of put this here so that other players can't see it. They just know that that's his start spot. And they started at 71, so they are here secretly. But look at this, 2 of the people already started right next to him. These were all randomized starts as well. Now Moriarty will wear this little the hat, and so it just goes over them. So this basically means that he can look at the board and not have the other players see where their eyes are going or see some of their expressions and such. At first I thought that might not be good enough, but it actually, they really can't see your eyes, so it's pretty cool. So you're going to start here. Now you can see there's different lines, right? So there's different colored lines that go through the different things, like the dotted dashed purple lines are sort of the train, and then we have the blue lines and the yellow lines, and those correspond with the different types of tickets, see the trains and the small horse and carriage, or the big, the bigger one there. And each player starts with a certain amount of these in the basic game. And again, normally each one of these is run by a single player, but with less than the full complement of players, one player will be running both of them in this case. Now Moriarty can move on any of the lines from here. So if they took the purple line from here, it would go from here right to here. See how it has a purple. This one has a purple, a blue, and a orange line. If they went on the orange line from here, it would go to here. The orange line from here, they'd go to here. And so on and so forth. So they can see where they go. Now look at this one. Orange goes just to here, blue to here. So they can decide where to go to. So let's say they went down to like 89, for example, because they don't have to spend any tickets, Moriarty. They can just move to an adjacent way using any of the 3 types of lines. So when it's Moriarty's next turn, let's say he goes to space 89. Now, he will take a ticket. He has unlimited tickets of all types. But when he does move, he must take one of the things, the tickets itself, and then he'll cover it there so that other players don't know where he is for sure, but they at least can tell how he moved. And that's interesting because he moved from 71 to 89 here. And again, this could have been any 3 of the tickets, but there's more oranges than sort of anything. So that gives it a little bit harder for the other players to figure that out. Now, beginning of the game, they don't know where Moriarty is. So let's say this player here, Sherlock, says, you know what, let me get towards the more center of the map because we're going to find out where he is shortly. So they could spend either a yellow or a blue ticket off of their board to move here to this next one. So it would go like that. And then all the other players would do the same thing. Maybe this one spends the orange ticket and goes there. Remembering that these are finite. They only have this many of each of these tickets throughout the entire game, so they've got to use the right things at the right time. Now these ones here that have the rings are bobbies. They are only used when you're playing with 2 or 3 detectives. And again, in the 2-player game, the other player is running both detectives and both bobbies. So here at the bobbies, they can move kind of like Moriarty can. They can move on any of the adjacent spots, but they don't have to use tickets. So they have like an unlimited amount of tickets, so they can move anywhere. So this one they're on this purple 13. They might say, you know what, look at this, they're going to follow purple all the way down to get to the next purple right there. So they got to move pretty far there. And you do that with the other Bobby. Once all the detectives have gone, then it's Moriarty's turn again. So maybe he moves from 89 to 105. Now that could have been an orange or a blue, but just to kind of throw him off, he's going to put a blue there so nobody can see it. Now, notice this, where you see the 3, and you see the 8, and the 13, and the 18, and 24, on these turns, after they write this number in here, and they cover it up, so that is 105, they actually will place their gold pawn where they are. So all the other players know exactly where it is at that instant. However, when Moriarty, after all these players have can move, it's Moriarty's turn again. Once he moves, he takes this off. So now they know that he was here, and they know if he moves in a basic way, he's going to be at one of these adjacent spots, right? And for example, if he did orange, they know he can't be here because this is only a blue line, for example. So they get to see where he is at certain parts. Now, twice per game in the basic game, they can use a 2x, and it basically go twice in a row. Basically, he would write where he went, write where he went again, and put the 2 corresponding tiles on there. It's a way for him to kind of get away a little bit. Or sometimes he might put this. He would write a number here as normal, but then he would put this, and then the other players don't know which line he used. So that's pretty much the basic game. He's trying not to get caught and get past the 24th round, not getting caught, and he wins. Otherwise, if any of the detectives get on top of the space where Moriarty is, Moriarty just lets him know that he's caught and he loses. By the way, Moriarty can never move through or onto a space where another detective is. So let's show you what changes with the Sherlock rules, which are my favorite. All the characters flip over to the Sherlock side, right? So now we have a different amount of tiles, like 1 and 1, and we got a bunch of special abilities. Plus, Moriarty puts this thing here. Now he just has to either escape or not be caught by the 16th round, or you may have noticed on the board, you'll see different sections, some red shaded sections, some green, and we have a river. They're sort of all over the place. Now the blue spots are obviously rivers, the red spots are landmarks, and the green spots are parks. Like this one says, Buckingham Palace. It's a park, and most of them have the word park in them, but they're shaded in green. And you notice that these have different icons that completely surround this park. This is like a park icon, where this is a landmark, and everything that surrounds this one is a landmark icon. So you kind of see how that works there. Now at the beginning of the game, he's going to randomly get 3 crime scenes. Now these could all be parks, all be landmarks, or a mix of this. This one we have 1 landmark, 1 river, and 1 park. So we have Kennington Park, River Thames, and Paddington. Now these tell you the numbers of where they are and the shadings of what they are. For example, this one said Kennington Park. It says at Kennington Park, but it actually shows this. So these 2 spots are next to this. If Moriarty ever gets to one of these 2 spots, he must mention that he has gotten to a crime scene. He has one of his goals. Now remember, he's committing a crime. He says so. He keeps this, to the edge of his board to let him know that he's done one of them. And they don't know where he is. They don't even know what he's done. He just says, I've done one of my 3 crimes. Because remember, none of these are face up to anyone. These are all secret, but I'm showing you on the camera here. If he's able to get all 3 of those goals, those crime scenes, he wins, regardless. It's an automatic win condition. But the cool thing is once you get these, when Moriarty draws a random start tile, he's able to choose which one he starts at, which is another layer of strategy. There's another big twist. You'll notice some of the locations have Moriarty's hat on there. These are hideouts. Now, if Moriarty's at one of those hideouts, he can trigger one of his 3 abilities. One of them is to do a deep dive. So normally, here, in some of these spots, he has to tell everyone, show everyone where he's at. If he happens to be at a hideout at the spot, he doesn't have to. He can use the ability to sort of hide and does not show them. It could be very powerful. Or you can use it to get an extra ticket. Again, you know what these do already, but you only start with 1 of each. This allows him to get either one of these or one of these, and he has to use it not anytime on the future turn. The last thing you can do once per game, and this is escaping. Basically, he's getting a hot air balloon. He'll draw another random tile that has the balloon on there, and he gets to select one of these 2, but everyone sort of saw him go in the balloon and saw where he landed. So you'll select one of these, but everyone else knows where you are, but you only get to do it once per game because it's pretty powerful. Now, each of the detectives have their special abilities too, and only 1 detective can use a special ability on any given turn. Remember, they're all taking turns in any order, but only 1 detective can use a special ability per round. Now, Sherlock Holmes, twice per game, can ask Moriarty which zone they're in. And then when he does that, he'd take the sort of chip off. He knows he has 1 left. Because you'll notice this dark line is through here. There's 4 different zones. For example, this is zone 4 that's all within this dark line around there. Where Watson can ask them if he's in a park, a river, or a landmark space. And if he is, he has to say yes or no truthfully. Some of the abilities is these makes it so that Moriarty cannot use either of these 2 lines. They select which one they can't use next turn. only. This one allows them to see where Moriarty was 2 turns previous, and this one is a roadblock. They place this on a station, and for the rest of the game, the Moriarty cannot stop at that station. They can still kind of move through it if allowed, but they can't stop. So those are some of the different abilities. And lastly, in either game, the black ticket we talked to you about the Moriarty can actually use these to go through these dark lines on the ferry. But that's pretty much it. Those are the 2 different versions. That is this new amazing version of Scotland Yard Sherlock Holmes Edition. All right, now before I get to my final thoughts, I want to let you know that if you like my content, there's now ways to get bonus content like first impression videos well before a review will come out, or for many games I don't even end up reviewing. You can even vote for which games get reviewed on the channel. You can also see me opening up packages and getting content earlier than everyone else. Well, if you like that, you can check it out at patreon.com/GameBoyGeek. You know, Scotland Yard is pretty much the game that put hidden movement games on the map back in the day. I think it came out like in '83. And again, for the longest time, this paved the way for new styles of games. Now, since then, many different hidden movement games have come out. There's still not a huge amount of them. It is a mechanism that is one of my favorites. And there are a handful of good ones out there, or great ones out there, but they don't come out as often as other genres like resource management, economic, and a lot of things like that. I'd like to see more of them, but in general, in the past, I enjoyed Scotland Yard. I like it. I think it's solid. Again, it paved the way for all these other games that I think are better. And in recent decade or so, there's just been so many of these that have come out. Again, still not that many, but a small handful that are better. And so this has sort of been replaced for me in general in the recent years. However, it's different now, spoiler, with this version. So let me tell you what I liked about this version and why this is the version to get. Now, you can still play with the standard or basic rules. I like that because if you're watching this video, maybe you don't play a whole lot of games, and this might be one you want to get into. If you don't play a ton of games, you can start with the basic game just to kind of learn how things work. If you've never played Hidden Movement, it's great because you can learn the very basics of a hidden movement game playing the basic game. But then you can turn up the heat into the Sherlock Holmes version, which is, I love the special abilities of the investigators, where Sherlock can ask them which zone they're in, or forbidding a tram or an underground to go on, or for asking if they're at a park, a landmark, or a river, or revealing where they are 2 turns ago, or putting a roadblock out. All these things are really cool. You can play with any of the ones that you want. It does recommend you play with Sherlock and Watson for your first game, or have those almost every game because they're the most powerful ones. I like that you have the bobbies with the lower player counts because they don't have to use the tickets. They can just kind of go anywhere they want. They still have to only go one spot at a time, but they're not limited to the amount of tickets. And so if there's less players, some of them are more powerful because it kind of balances the fact that they don't get to kind of talk through things with multiple heads thinking. I think it's brilliant. It works really well in that way. I like that Moriarty has starting sort of crime scenes or goals that he's going for. Now, they are random. We'll get to that in just a moment at the end here. But I love that. He now has a focus. And then, if you get all those, you have an immediate end game condition where you've won. And the other players will know because you have to tell them if you've completed one, not where it is or what it was, but where it is. And it ratchets up the tension because they go, oh, no, he only needs one more left. We really got to catch him. We got to have some risks. I like it because, all goals are completed, you win immediately. I love that. I like the new areas, landscapes, parks, and rivers. It's awesome because those are the areas where the crimes are. It's going to give you different things to think about, different places to go. It's also going to help with some of the abilities of some of the other players that I just mentioned. The Moriarty special abilities. I love that. If he's on a hideout, he can, for example, take a black ticket or a 2x ticket. He could, and by the way, I love that the black tickets allow Moriarty to move on the ferry. That is just cool. One extra little hit there. I love that he could not reveal his location when he's supposed to if he's on a hideout at the right spot. Even that alone is a huge strategic thing. They know what turn you're on. If you're the turn before one of the ones where he could get to a hideout, but he's gonna have to reveal himself, you might be like, he's probably going to try not to reveal himself. So maybe he's at one of the hideouts, and that might narrow down your thing. But he knows that you think this, so he thinks something else, and it's this and this and this and this back and forth cat and mouse. Just ratchets that aspect of this game up with those hideouts. It is a brilliant thing because it is such an easy mechanism. If he's on one of these hat spots in the hideouts, he might not have to reveal. And so as those things are approaching, it's giving you a whole new strategy, but also another way to bluff. They create more bluff opportunities and depth to the game without complicating it. It is smooth as butter, it's streamlined, and I love that. I like that the game's length is shorter. There's less rounds because you can also win by staying up all the way or by getting those 3 goals. I like that it shortens the game, makes it tighter, makes it more streamlined. They just took an older game that was, in my opinion, aged and not worth having on the shelf, and they've made this, spoiler, in my opinion, the best sort of family weight hidden movement game that gamers will really love too. Sure, there's, you know, the Spectre Ops, and there's Letters from Whitechapel, and there's Fury of Dracula, and all these bigger, longer ones for the diehard gamers when you want a longer experience. But if you want a game that's like 30-ish minutes, maybe a little longer, but still has a ton of depth, oh man, this is the go-to game for that now for me, which is different than it ever was. This version did it. Please, Ravensburg, if you're listening, any future printings of this game, please keep it this edition. Or if you're going to retheme it, I love the theme by the way, if you're going to retheme it, keep these new rules in there because they are the best version of this game I've ever played. Now back in the day when Mr. X came out, which was a sequel to this, I got rid of Scotland Yard because I'm like, Mr. X pretty much replaced it. This is better than Mr. X. So this is the go-to, even better than Clue Museum Caper, which up until this point was my favorite sort of family level one as well for one versus many. That one is a little aged too, and that one's more mass market. This one allows you to play with mass market, but also with all the abilities and stuff. Anything that can make this game better, yes. They have the little hat that goes over so you can't see their eyes. It works. It's fine, it works. I really would rather see a little mini board in front of them with a shield, and they can sort of track where the people are so they only have to look at a little board in front of them. They don't have to keep putting their eyes or moving around, because even though you have the hat on, sometimes you kind of have to move your head or move your whole body to a side of the board just so you can see the numbers really well. And you wouldn't have to do that. So you kind of have to, like when you get up, if you have to move and see a different side of the board, you kind of have to do that every time so they don't know where you're looking. They can't see your eyes, but you know, you might not be able to see all the way across the board. So I really wish they would have had like a little mini shield with a little mini board in front of them and little tokens that they can sort of like move of where the other players are. So take that out of there. Again, it works the way it is, but ideally if I had my choice, I would have it done that way. Of course, I would also add some cost though. The other thing is the Moriarty goals, the crime scenes. I already talked about how much this increases the game and how much it makes it better. But on the bad side of things, it's random. You can get a really good draw where they're all kind of close. You can get a really bad draw with like one in each of the corners. It's very random. And so, you know, give or take. Some games it might be easier to win that way. In some ways it might be almost impossible to win that way. So it's very random. I wish there was kind of a way you could kind of select things for difficulty or ease. Something like in Whitechapel, there was an app that helped you select easy, medium, or difficult ways to do that. Kind of wish they would have done that as well. A way to like, hey, if you want an easy one, take, you know, the app was good because it just did it on its own, but a way to select possibilities for easy, medium, or difficulty for that player. Anyway, the game's fantastic. And for all these reasons, it's getting an absolute Saxophone Serenade. Scotland Yard is coming back into my collection for good because it is the go-to family weight and gamer weight, shorter gamer weight of a hidden movement game. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games by helping you find the next one you love. And because I'm keeping it, I gotta get rid of something. So let's induct it into my gaming library with a Saxophone Serenade. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table into a high-quality gaming solution, but they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with over 20 styles of thematic game mats in 11 different sizes from notable board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and real cool accessories, experience what thousands of other gamers enjoy by upgrading every game you play with a Game Topper system. Save hundreds of dollars on Game Topper package deals that are in stock now for immediate shipping at GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.